What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JaAR. JaAR, for those of you that may be new, stands for Joe.
And Amy.
Review. And so we are back. For those of you that don't know, or maybe this is your first episode of JaAR that you've watched, first of all, then welcome. But second of all, then you won't know why I'm smiling, why I'm so happy. So we're back. For those of you that are returning, we are back to talk once again about the Shadows over Innistrad story, but not really the Shadows over Innistrad story, because it's still the end of that, but it's really more the Eldritch Moon, or the lead-in to Eldritch Moon, because while it is the Shadows over Innistrad story, and there was nothing in here that is new, you know, all of the stuff that we saw, like the Devils and Arlen Cord, finally, is all stuff from Shadows, technically. But it is following the final story point, which is the death of Avacyn. So, you know, Avacyn died, then we had 2 weeks of Eternal Masters stories, but it's also just, it was just filler stories so that they could put these stories up now a little bit further away, so that they could get a little bit closer, I should say, to Eldritch Moon's release, so that they would have time to get these stories out, because there is still that balancing act, like we talked about way back in the beginning of this series. There is still that balancing act that they're doing between, you know, spoiling the cards first and then spoiling the story points. So they're still looking for that balance. I'm sure that they have reasons for why they delay it a certain period of time, because they know which stories are being released when. But regardless, we finally got Arlen Cord.
Yay!
It happened. We know Arlen's backstory. This story, as you can tell from the title down below, was called The Archmage of Goldnight. Now, from reading that title, I don't know if anyone could have known that this was about Arlen Cord, because I knew Goldnight was a place. We all knew Goldnight was a place. Goldnight Castigator is the card that came to mind when I first heard the name of this story. And so I thought that would come up. That did not come up even once. But, you know, it's a mythic in the set, so I figured, it makes sense that they would do a story on a mythic. They did a story on the Gitrog monster, so, you know, why not? Which Amy was super happy about. Yeah. So I assumed it would be about Goldnight Castigator, and it wasn't. It was about Arlen Cord. She was the Archmage of Goldnight, or she was one of the Archmages of Goldnight. Again, you should read the stories beforehand, but I guess spoilers, she killed almost all the other ones. So, this was a cool story. I've been asking for it forever, so if I were
often.
I was going to say, if I were to have turned around and said, this story was awful, why did they have to tell us this? Like, I'd be the biggest hypocrite in the world. So, I loved it. It was amazing to learn about her backstory, to learn about her style, why she can transform between both. I still have one question. I don't know if you do. My only question from this entire story, because it was great, my only question that was left is, just because I'm curious, not because they didn't properly answer it for us, but my only question is, where did she planeswalk to? Because in Magic Origins, when we found out the origins of the Planeswalkers, we found out where they all planeswalked to. We don't know where she planeswalked to. Maybe. I genuinely hope we will. I don't know how we will, but I genuinely hope we will. Maybe. But
when they move on to the plane that she planeswalked to.
Maybe. But I don't know how we would figure it out. But I'm open to them showing us or telling us. But when she planeswalked, because that was discussed here, she was about to be killed by her friend/mentor, and
because, you know, that's what friends/mentors do, is kill you.
I mean, if you're an evil monster who lies to them about your deadly monstrous condition, whatever. There's two sides to every argument, right? Sure. But yeah, she was about to be killed by her mentor, or at least attacked, I should say, by her mentor. I don't at least fully understand the hardiness of werewolves and what it would fully take to kill them, but regardless, her mentor was a silver bullet, right? But is that the only thing? Would a sword have hurt her enough to kill her? Regardless, like I said, it doesn't really matter. My point is, her friend was attacking her mentor was attacking her. He struck at her and she planeswalked. She was gonna let it hit her, and poof, she went, and they said she appeared in a forest in another world. Now, flavorfully, storyline-wise, it makes perfect sense that, or it should make sense, that she would not know the plane that she was on because she stayed in her werewolf form the whole time that she was on that plane. So,
which is odd.
so there's no, oh, well, I'll just transform into a human and go ask this guy over here where we are. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that she would know where she was unless, because she did have her human mind, unless she was able to overhear someone talking about something that might give her a clue. Now, I don't walk around going, man, it's great to be on Earth today. Like, most people typically don't do that. So I would not be surprised if Arlen never heard. Right. I don't know if Arlen ever heard the name of the plane, and I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't, but I would be interested in seeing how, hopefully, they are going to explain in the future where she was. Whether in a future set, a story, someone is going to say, well, I saw a werewolf one time and there are no werewolves on this plane. How did I see a werewolf? And you can go, oh, that's where she went. But it would have to be in a flashback because it's in the past. But I also don't fully know how time works in the multiverse. It seems to be kind of a straight flowing thing because planeswalkers can planeswalk between planes, and it's...
Wait, planeswalkers can planeswalk? Mind blown.
Wow. Anyway, yes, it may have been a dumb statement, but this is what we're here to do. Welcome to it.
Make dumb statements?
Yay. That's what I'm here to do. She's here to be insightful.
And insulting.
I'm pretty sure I'll live. So, the story in general, though, I thought it was great. I mean, I mentioned that already.
I liked it a lot.
Right? So, I thought it was really good. It showed Arlen Cord, which it was super funny. Amy said at the start of this story, right before I started reading it, it was called the Archmage of Goldnight. So I, like I said, was going into it assuming it would be Goldnight Castigator type stuff. I knew that it was the continuation of, Avacyn just died, now what's going to happen. But I assumed it was just going to be kind of filler stuff. Right. And so Amy said to me, she was like, oh, so is Arlen Cord going to be in this one? And I was like, no. Like, it would have told us if it was about Arlen Cord. Because I thought that would be kind of a selling point. Maybe you want to mention that. Because to be honest, like, the Archmage of Goldnight is not a title that makes me go, man, I want to know what happens in this story. And the lead-in paragraph that they had, because, like, they tease these stories or release these stories on Facebook, they release them on Twitter, and so you get to see the post and the picture, and the picture, I think, today was of a werewolf, so maybe I should have just looked a little bit closer, maybe it was Arlen Cord. It was not the Arlen Cord, like Arlen Embraced by the Moon picture, which then would have immediately obviously clued me in, because I know that art, but it was art of a werewolf, I believe, standing on its hind legs. So again, should have clued me in, but Silver Fur Partisan is also on its hind legs. There are other werewolves that stand on their hind legs. That's just a thing. But yeah, it maybe that picture should have clued me in and I should have looked closer at it, but I looked at the title, I looked at the little blurb, and not that I wasn't going to read the story anyway, because I wanted to find out what happened following Avacyn's death, following Anguished Unmaking. We finally got there, and so I wanted to know what came next, and I also, selfishly wanted... It
really wasn't what came next.
It really wasn't. I mean, it only was because it's showing that people are still strong enough to fight back. And the last line was the last line of the story, which I loved. I mean, I will say I was not as much into the whole redemption storyline arc for her with her friend. Like, you're a monster, I'll never trust you, I want you dead. And then she saves his life, and so he even then, like, he's dying or about to die. Yes, super cliche. I don't think a little at all. I think it was super cliche, because you see it happening and you're like, oh, so then she's going to do this, and then he's going to be happy and take her back. So, like, you knew, at least I knew, that it was coming. It seemed pretty predictable. Once again, if you were shocked and surprised, let us know in the comments down below. If you were yawning through it, that portion of it, too, let us know. But regardless, that part of it was very hit or miss for me. I was just like, okay, yes, I get it, thanks. He's gonna be happy. Move on.
It never said that.
Well, it never said he was happy, you're right, because he was in fact crying like he wasn't happy, and he knew that he felt betrayed. He felt like she had betrayed Avacyn, she had betrayed her oath, whatever you want to call it, and that he told her that she was not really an Archmage. She never was, as opposed to earlier where he was like, you were always an Archmage.
Right.
He just completely went back on it.
I think he just likes saying shit.
Well, because I think he like really was trying to hurt her.
Yeah.
He felt hurt and wanted to hurt her in return, both physically and emotionally, and seemingly succeeded on both grounds. So, but he was able to do that, and he, at the end, he said, Avacyn, help me, because he reached it, and it's, again, that's just like, God help us, people saying that here. I think that was just a phrase. I don't think, at that time, I don't think that he was actually praying to her, because he was already reaching out his arm to Avacyn. I don't want to, he was already reaching out his arm. Now, look, you can't see Amy's face.
You said Avacyn.
Yeah, he was already... Oh, I'm sorry, yes. He was already reaching his hand out to Arlen. And so I assumed that he was just saying, Avacyn, help me, in that he was saying, please let me be making the right choice. Please let me be doing the right thing, kind of a thing. And that was my thought that I got out of it. And her response, I thought, was really great, where she said, Avacyn's gone. We need to find strength in each other now. And that, I think, is a great lead into the rest of the stories, because Eldritch Moon, Avacyn's gone. Now, as Amy correctly pointed out towards the beginning of this story when we were reading it today, Avacyn wouldn't have helped him anyway. Avacyn wasn't there regardless, right? That was the point that you were bringing up.
Right.
So,
but I think the opposite. I think that he was still trying to pray to Avacyn, or the dead Avacyn.
Okay,
the ghost of Avacyn.
Well, I don't know.
In a sense, to say, look, I'm still loyal to Avacyn more than I am to you, Arlen, because I know that you're a werewolf.
Yeah.
That's what that was in my mind.
Well, and the interesting thing to me is, I don't know how they knew that Avacyn was dead, except in the beginning, Arlen said she smelled Angel's blood. So at first I was like, oh, she smells Avacyn's blood. Not necessarily, because then you find out that she's smelling the blood of the angel that's attacking these people at Havengul, and so she's going there. So it may not have been Avacyn's blood. And then you're like, okay, so then how did the humans find out that Avacyn was dead? Well, they're being attacked by an angel that's screaming, we will avenge the death of Avacyn. Well, there you go. So
okay, guess Avacyn died.
But I don't know. I feel like it, especially for the Archmages, who seemingly are able to channel holy power into weapons, into their wards. I almost always forget the name of them, but they're wards that they wear on themselves.
Sort of amulet thing.
Right, but that's in D&D terms, I believe it's called a focus. Like you have like a focus to your god, but they're able to channel holy power into these items and use them. And whether it be following a prayer or whether it be in general, they are able to do that. And so clearly they're getting power from somewhere. But what I would think is that when Avacyn died, maybe people who were so closely connected to her, like the other angels, her holy followers, were able to feel that. Were able to feel the reverberations through the world. Whereas, people like you...
Through their ward things.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Through their, whatever their connection
right.
to her is.
It's a Good point.
Right. And we will have to see whether or not people like you and me felt it. Because at the end of the story with Anguish Unmaking, at the end of I Am Avacyn, which we have that episode where we talk about that. Feel free to go watch it. Definitely go read it if you haven't, because you need to. It was really good.
Because it is the best story.
Totally the best, by far.
Yes.
But at the end of that story, there was rumbling. As soon as she died. Now, is that because they were in the Church of Avacyn? Who knows? Is that because her blood was on the floor of where she was created and Soren was attempting to go down there to fix her, if you will? I don't know. But that rumbling, was it the whole plane? Was it just that area? Does everyone know that the rumbling means that she's dead?
I think the rumbling is just simply the unmaking, the uncreating of a divine creature.
Right, and the energy leaving her body, or whatever you want to call it, which is fair. I don't know that. And these are theories, questions, ideas, and as always, you can let us know what you think it is down below, or if we missed... Every once in a while, there is like a critical word that may have been in the description of something that maybe we missed. Maybe it's like, well, Joe and Amy, they clearly said, there was a rumbling, but it was... from off in the distance. And so, it was coming from the area of the Drowned Temple. Okay, maybe. That's what I'm saying. Maybe if we missed that, let us know. Yeah. But otherwise, if it seemingly was just Avacyn's dead, now there's a rumbling, could it be her energy escaping from her body? Could it be just the plane responding to the death of such a powerful being or creature? Who knows? Could it be her mana, since... angels are creatures of pure mana. Could it be her mana returning to the earth somehow?
That's cool. I like that theory a lot.
I mean, that would be awesome, but I don't know. And maybe we just in general don't know. Maybe we missed something, but maybe we just don't know. Hopefully we'll find out, and obviously stay tuned to JaAR, because we'll be talking about it as it comes up in the stories. Eldritch Moon is coming. I'm not going to spoil it. You can listen to our episode from last week to hear us talk about what we think is coming up, because there was an article that Wizards put out last week, separate and apart from the stories, that kind of talked about the artistic clues that they've been giving us and kind of the direction that it's pointing in, and we will see whether the obvious is what is happening or whether it is not. A lot of people have been bringing this up, so it's not just us saying it, and I said that last week too. It's not an original idea. It is a common thing. So go ahead, check that video out. Let us know what you think, and you can read that article for yourselves as well. That article is still on the feature section of Wizards of the Coast's website. So I mentioned that I had that question as to where she planeswalked to. That's not a problem that I had with the story. It's a question that it brought up for me, and I think it did it intentionally. I think it left it questioning intentionally, so like you said, they can maybe tailor a future set towards explaining that to us. And again, do I think an entire set needs to be devoted to explaining why Arlen Cord, or where Arlen Cord planeswalked to? No. Do I think that in a future set, if they said, oh wow, there's a werewolf walking on hind legs that seems to be making human-like logical decisions. Okay, cool, that's it. I figured it out, thanks, we're done. I don't need a whole thing about it, but just, it's a question.
To me, it makes a lot of sense for them to do that, because they had such a build-up to the launching of Arlen Cord, and then it took up until now for them to actually give us anything.
Well, and I was going to say, it took up until now for them to give us anything, and I'm not sure personally how much of that is me just being like, so how about Arlen Cord? Are you gonna tell us about Arlen Cord now? Are you gonna, because I kept bringing it up, so I don't know how much of it is they truly just aren't telling us, and how much of it is, okay, Joe keeps asking about it, so just give it to him so he'll shut up about it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I really don't. If you guys also were like, hey, finally, Arlen Cord, again, let us know. Twitter, Facebook too. I mean, I know those are shameless plugs, but it's just another way to talk to us. Twitter and Facebook links are in the description down below. Just another way to let us know what you guys think as well.
Either way, we'll read it and see what you guys think.
It's true. It's true. And the responses that we've been...
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the responses that we've been getting from you guys have been super positive, have been super encouraging. So thank you.
Yes,
if you have already... I really appreciate it. I know Amy does as well, and the rest of us on the channel do as well. And we sit down and we discuss that with the rest of the people on the channel. Who, if you have not watched the other videos, Schnaz, Dave, Austin, Tiara, we all discuss those things. And if you check out other stuff on the channel, you'll see that. But going back to the story, the question that I had was not me saying that I had a problem with that. Because I like that, and I think, again, it's a nice way for them to lead into further stories. The problem, if at all, that I had with this story this week was it was long. Holy crap, this story was long. Do you disagree or you agree?
That is not a problem I had for once.
Wow. Okay. Because at one point I looked at Amy.
It always feels really long, and this one... to me, not so much.
Okay. I looked at Amy at one point. The way that they told this story, if for whatever reason you didn't listen to Amy and you didn't read the story first, I'll help you out.
Or shame.
Shame on you, and you're not showing off your hashtag Vorthos pride. But I'll help you out a little bit. I won't do this often, but the way they told this story was in present day and then flashbacks. And then back to present day, and then a flashback. And then a flash forward a little bit more from that flashback, but not quite into the present yet, and then to the present day, and then it was done.
So it was kind of all over the place.
A little bit, yes. And it was, but I have to say, we have discussed in previous episodes the fact that time has always been questionable, the way that they've done it. How much time has passed? Is this the present? Is this the past? Is this years in the past? Is this like 2 weeks ago? It's very difficult to tell. And how much time has passed between this section and then the line and then the next section, you know? And usually they're able to tell you because it's just, oh, I'm traveling from this place to this place, line. Now I've gotten to this place. Like, okay, fine. However long it takes for you to travel there, I get it. But in other occasions, it's like, oh, Avacyn, something's off with her. And then in the next breath, she's destroying an entire city. Well, was that 3 weeks? Was that 2 years? Was that 75 years? Like, how long was that period of time? So,
I don't know. I think they leave it vague on purpose because it's, I don't know.
Well, it's easier to fill in things there because then you don't have to be married to that period of time.
Right.
So I get that because then you can say, well, in that period, like, 3 months from now, if they want to be writing a story for Eldritch Moon and they're like, well, when Avacyn was going crazy, this happened.
Right.
And it's like, then you're going to have people picking it apart.
It's easier for them to go back to it and say, oh, well, this is what we had intended all along.
Right.
Even if it wasn't.
Right. But I will say that I think that it was good what they did here because they didn't give you a number of years. They just said, present day, years ago, or many years ago. And then when they flashed forward from the flashback, it was, a few years later or something like that, many years later. But every time they went back to the present, it specified present day. So at first, when it said many years later following a flashback, and for a half a second I was like, okay, but are we in the present? No, we're not in the present because then they would have said present day because they've done that twice to us already.
Right.
So this was...
it's not quite present day, but it's many years later than
the
many years back
right.
that it was.
And, right, which, you know what, again, because that's a good storytelling method in terms of you don't write yourself into a corner, you have space there to do other things with it if you really want to. You don't know how many years Arlen was on that other plane, so if you wanted to turn that into a story and have Arlen in a future set because of that. And to be fair, if you have Arlen in a future set, what they've done is that future set does not have to have transform cards because Arlen stayed as a werewolf the entire time she was there.
Right.
So that's a really awesome way for Wizards to be like, hey, we can give you Arlen again. She's just not going to be on her human side ever. She would just consistently be a werewolf, but she will be a werewolf planeswalker, just only her werewolf side. I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's pretty ingenious because it allows them to do exactly what you just said.
to keep a flip planeswalker in a non-flip set.
Right.
Which would work.
They're giving themselves permission to do a lot.
Yeah. And to be honest, if we've been saying this pretty frequently. Wizards, if you're watching, you're welcome for that idea if you haven't come up with it yet.
There's no way for us to know how far ahead of us Wizards really is.
They always are.
But it's a lot further than we think, no matter what.
And that could be a bullet point on a bulletin board in their headquarters somewhere of being like,
or
when Arlen Cord
planeswalked.
in
someone's head, but it's the right person.
Yeah.
That's all it needs to be.
Yeah. So, who knows? If we're still doing this show years down the line and we meet Arlen Cord again, if I have enough of a memory to recall back to this episode, I'll do so. I won't. Not that I won't do it, but I won't have enough of a memory to do it. Because that happens. As you guys have seen in previous episodes where I'm like, oh, totally, we're going to Regatha. We're not going to Regatha, you idiot. Anyway, I had Regatha on the brain. But anyway, so that's fine. So that was done well, I think. The year hopping was fine. It made sense to me. I didn't need, it was 20 years. It was 5 years. Like, that's fine. I think that worked out well. And again, I found the story to belong. Apparently, Amy did not. But I think...
I know you're yawning a lot,
except that it's late. But we did start late, and that's our fault. We did that last week, too. So... We don't hold that against the story in terms of, how late we decide to read it. It's just that then Amy's going to yawn in the video a lot. Right. So, if she made you yawn, like, comment, and subscribe. No, I'm totally kidding.
You can if you want to.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to do those things, if you feel that this content is good enough. But
God, guys, if you want to just sit there and yawn, watch our videos. We are so boring.
Yeah, watch us at night before you go to bed. Amy will make you yawn, more tired. It'll be great. It'll be awesome. So, Amy, did you have anything else that you wanted to say about the Archmage of Goldnight?
Oh, why do you have to ask that question right now?
Keep thinking. I have one more thing. I have one more thing to say. Okay. You keep thinking. I was surprised that they did not do anything with Goldnight Castigator. Am I upset about it because I've gone on rants about Arlen Cord? No. Would it have been cool to have shown her somewhere? Yes. I would also be remiss if I did not point out that I loved, and if you guys have seen our openings from Shadows over Innistrad, you'll know that I love this. I love the Devil's sub-theme in this set. Love it.
Very cool.
And this is the first time that we've seen devils in the story.
Yeah.
And yet, the only artistic depiction that they showed us, because you have, I believe, Dance with Devils and Devil's Playground are the two devil-making cards in this set. Plus, there's the art from the devil token, which I love. That art's so cool. The art that they showed us for the devils in this story was a completely original piece of art. Or, I will at least say, a piece of art that I have not seen before. And I've seen the art on every card in the set, so it's not from a card in the set.
Could be from a previous set, but...
No, if it was from a previous set, they would have showed the card underneath.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
But it could have been in some of the promo art for this set that I may have missed. If you know, let us know. But for me, it was a brand new piece of art. It was really cool.
It was cool.
They did not look exactly like all of the other devils that they've been showing us in this set and stuff, but it was very close. I mean, they were still all red. They had the devil's tails. They did a great job of describing the devils really well in this story, so I liked that a lot. So yeah, I appreciated the Devil's sub-theme being shown. I didn't need Goldnight Castigator, despite the fact that they had Goldnight in the title. It was a mythic. I'm not going to go on a rant about it this time.
I didn't need it because I wasn't familiar with the card ahead of time.
Right.
But
and I didn't know how they were going to put it in there anyway.
Well, but at the same time, we spoke about the fact that they left a lot of space to do new things with Arlen Cord. We might see some sort of correlation between that card and Arlen Cord in the future.
It's possible. It's possible. Like I said, I don't need it. It was a mythic in the set. Like, you know, I don't need them to talk about Startled Awake. You know, like which is also a mythic in the set.
Should.
Well, Startled Awake is an awesome card, but I don't need a story about it because the card in and of itself tells its own story.
Yeah,
it doesn't need it on paper. It does it itself. I don't need it because they did such a perfect job with it to begin with.
Yeah, they did.
So, regardless, have you had enough time to think about it? Do you know?
I don't think I have anything.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to be cutting anybody off.
Okay.
Okay. So, guys, this has been another episode of JaAR. If I'm correct, I believe it is episode 15. You can double check me on the title down below, but I'm pretty sure it is. Maybe you think when I write all these titles down when I upload them, I would pay attention. But anyway, this has been episode 15 of JaAR. Thank you so much for watching. I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And we are here on the Geek for All YouTube channel. And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.